Hey guys,
Hey,
Robert
Rob.
here. I've got my team on board. We're going to talk about some great things that Rec Systems has to offer today. Our flexible time slots and our competitive pricing options. Not actually our pricing options, but our customers' pricing option to be able to create additional revenues on the fly within their rental fleet. And then also our add-ons. So I want to start with our add-ons today. They're the most exciting part of my life today. So I just want to talk about it. The add-ons, as we started to put them into the booking platform, really turned into a great way to create additional revenue. We just had a customer that we onboarded yesterday that decided that they wanted to add on bags of ice. So they went out and they purchased a ice machine so that they can do a higher volume of ice distribution. And then we simply just put it on their website as an add-on for an additional $10 a bag. So you can go from an extra anchor, an extra set of skis on your boats, or even an extra belt if you want the customer to have that on their snowmobile rental, to a bag of ice on a pontoon rental. And those can be automatically put together on the back of our booking platform to increase additional revenues, right? So little things add up, $25 here, $10 there, an extra gas charge, whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, if you get an extra $100 or $150 added to the bottom of your ticket, you're just going to increase your revenue. And if you do that over and over and over again, we call it rinse and repeat. By the end of your season, you might have put an extra, $15,000 or $20,000 in your pocket. And there's an upside to it too. If you record it in your QuickBooks, like I would, under cost of goods sold, you can save some money on tax at the end of the year as well. So the add-ons are a feature that we have in the back of our platform that we can create that are individualized, and you can actually put a custom photo in there so your customer can see exactly what kind of add-on they're choosing. You can add a description. You can make it really simple for them. And for you, if you're using our booking platform, you can do an add-on feature, add or delete one in less than 5 minutes. So you can get creative with that, and you can come up with different ways to integrate add-ons into your rental fleet to increase your revenue.
Rob, what if I wanted to say I got a rental fleet and I want gas charge in there or something like that, but I don't give that option for the customer to pay it? Could I charge them right up front for it? Say, hey, a gallon or a tank of gas is going to be $40. Can you require that?
Yeah, so if you just have an automatic surcharge or fuel charge for your rental fleet where you just automatically charge the customer $40 or $50 or $30 up front, we can just add that as a mandatory add-on so that when they go ahead and they rent a unit out of your fleet, that's a mandatory add-on right there, and it automatically adds that to your daily or weekly charge, however you have it structured.
So then you could go in the QuickBooks at the end of the year and be like, oh, required gas charge, $40. This is where I went through. You can see every separate line item for gas and go from there.
Absolutely. And it's important to have your line items individualized as far as fuel sales are concerned, because not only are they profitable if you do it right, but they already have a federal tax baked into them. So you're not going to pay sales tax or pay tax on fuel sales.
So the other day I was showing someone how to use the platform, and I just started randomly thinking of stuff. So it was a mobile sauna, and I was just like, do you charge for towels? And they're like, well, we just include them. I was like, what if it was $5? And then we started calculating it out, and we added the $5 towels. And then they had this this special light that adds some ambiance or whatever, and it's like good for the skin or something. That was $100. And then we started adding additional firewood and the delivery charge. And it's all like very small, tiny add-ons that wouldn't seem like it pushes a needle. But like I did a week-long thing, and it added like $150 to the overall ticket. And you start multiplying that out, you got 10 units 150, and then all year round, it really starts to add up where most people are just used to like clicking things. If they're already committed to something and they're like, okay, I want this little add-on, it's $5, I'll do that. They're not even going to think about it. And then you can start multiplying it out by the day, where it doesn't need to just be like a one-time charge or whatever. It could be per day or per unit or whatever. So like you start thinking about how quickly that can add up, where they're totally fine with it. It's, it's an add-on. They don't need to do it. It's an optional thing. It's totally up to them. And it's,
Brad,
it's pretty awesome.
you're the software engineer, right? Is that what your title, Brad?
Sure. I'm the head of innovation.
Oh, okay. Did you create the add-ons to be able to select per quantity or per unit or per day?
Yeah. So everything that I do is all focused around conversion optimization, and it's all like super subtle ways to convert them. And so the ways that we've done it is that we can always have a required or not required, like required or optional. But on top of that, it could be like, let's say you have 3 units. You could have it either just be one charge, or it could be per unit, or you could actually select how many you want. If it's towels, you might want to have 4 sets of them or whatever. It doesn't really matter. And then on the flip side of that, you can also then determine if it's like per day or it's a one-time charge, or, like there's all sorts of different ways to do it. And you can get really creative with it in a way that it seems like a really good deal, which if you structure it properly, it will be. Like, what's even in that regard of getting a cooler with ice, how much effort is it to go out and go to the store, the grocery store, get a bag of ice? Oh, I brought the cooler from up north, or, whatever it is. And it's all of these extra steps that they can just not care about. And when you have that ability to just not care about those things and it's just added, people are going to hop on it. And it's a really, really, it's almost like that they will appreciate it more because you're doing it, not so much that you're charging for it. But on your end, it's you get a boost in the revenue.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a value-added service. I was just thinking about a couple scenarios in my head. So I'm an avid boater. In the summer months, if I could live on my boat, I probably would. But I can't tell you
that now.
Excuse me?
Aren't you in Florida? Can't you do that now?
Yeah, I can't afford a boat in Florida. Sorry. But thanks, Marco. Anyways, to make a long story short, I'll be driving to the boat, with my team in the car, and I'll be like, oh, we have a cooler, but we don't have anything in the cooler, and we certainly don't have any ice. So then we have to stop at the local gas station and, get the Powerade and the juice or whatever we're going to put in there, and the Busch Light. And then we have to get the ice as well to put it in there. So those are headaches, right? So the last thing you want to be doing if you have your family somewhere in the country on vacation and you're renting a piece of equipment is you don't want to have to be like, oh, we have to stop at the store and get a pair of kids skis to go along with our boat rental, or we have to stop in the store and get ice and pack a cooler. For these companies out there that aren't offering it now, pack a cooler for your customer, charge them for it. They'll pay it. It's a convenience fee. And when you're on vacation, the more convenience, the better for the end user as far as, your customer, I would say.
For sure. I'm just thinking out loud where like you could do so many different things, like a bundle. You could have like a nice little basket of aloe and sun lotion and bug spray. Like you could do all of these different little bundles that would be like, maybe the cost of goods sold is $3, but you do it for 10 or 15 bucks and they appreciate it. That's super, super powerful. Or you could do something like a GoPro, where if it's $35 to do a GoPro, it might be with the waterproof case. It might be $100 something. You rent it out 3 times, you pay for it at that point. And so then that's just money in the bank after that.
Yeah, I think the GoPro for sure would be an excellent add-on, especially on the UTV side of the rental industry for these families that go out and they get these 4-seaters or these 6-seaters. And, they have their whole family in there, and the guy's got his helmet on and he's got his GoPro running and he's actually filming, the memory. He's actually filming the experience that he's having with his family. And then at the end of the day, he gets that USB card to take home and put it on his computer, and it's nothing for a customer to pay $30 for, an add-on like a GoPro to be able to capture memories for a lifetime.
So when I went skydiving, they had this option where you could record it. And the thing I just thought about is, imagine you could charge an arm and a leg for this, where not only do you do the GoPro, but you also create like a 10-minute video. Like maybe every ATV or whatever has a GoPro. And then at the end of the time, you take those back, you outsource the video editing, and they condense it down into a 10-minute video, and they charge $400 for it or whatever. I think when we went skydiving, it was like $150 for the video, and it was literally just the raw footage, and you could totally do that.
Yeah, for sure. There's a company right down the street here on the beach, and I take my kiddos over there, and we go parasailing. Try to go parasailing every time they're down here, and they offer a photo package. It's $40 per person, and you go up in the parasail, and the gentleman sits on the deck of the boat, and he takes a picture of you and your family up on the parasail, coming in and out and dunking you in the water and everything. And then when you get off the boat, he hands you the card, and that's it. So bam. So if you have, 4 people doing this, that's $160 additional dollars right there on, one rental.
Yeah, and to bring it full circle, it's like literally a button click for them. It's all that it takes. It doesn't require a whole long process. It's right when they're putting in their information. Yes, I want this. And so it's almost a brain free activity there.
I have a question for Marco. Marco, you're out in the field all day long. What would your ideal add-on be?
Oh, you put me on the spot. I think the biggest thing right now is, there's a bunch of rental companies out there, but these insurance companies are not easy to deal with right now. A lot of people are getting out of the rental industry because of this insurance stuff. And I know Rob has a couple insurance companies that he worked with, Markel, and what was the other one?
Evolution.
So I've been giving their names out, but it's pretty expensive. So why not have it as an add-on, to help cover your insurance fee? Insurance isn't free. Running a company is not free.
$100, click a button.
We can have it a required add-on for you. Hey, here's a $50 insurance policy to help you cover your butt at the end of the year. People won't blink an eye at that. They know they're just like, oh wow, this guy's actually going to take care of me. It's a value-added service that people appreciate. So now I think that's a really good one that we have liability waivers that we work with. We're integrated with Smart Waiver, so that's not free for our rental customer either, but that's the same thing. You put $5 liability waiver on there required and insurance, and boom, you got yourself covered, and the customer will appreciate that.
That's
how about that, Rob?
Yeah.
What's that?
I'm learning. I'm writing stuff down over here. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got so excited. I'm sorry. I almost spoke over you twice. So I had forgotten about the insurance add-on, but when I had Lakeside, we had an insurance add-on, and it was nice. It was $50 a day, and the customer would pay it. At that time, I was going through Evolution Insurance, who offered a program where they would charge me a certain amount every day, and then I was able to mark that up like 3x and then charge the customer for it. It made them feel a lot more secure on their adventure, and it made me feel better too, because not only carrying the liability insurance that goes along with owning a rental company, you also know that you have additional insurance that your customer is paying for as well. So you're double protected, and you're making a margin on it. So I'm extremely excited that Marco brought up the insurance add-on. It's extremely important, and you'll sleep better at night. And I think that everybody out there renting anything should offer it, because the customer will pay it.
I think after you said that, I think required add-on insurance is good, right? You can put it at $50 or whatever you want to put on it. But when that customer has it required, it's almost like, oh, I can take this unit out and, kind of beat around with it because they got insurance. Maybe if you make it selectable and they don't select it, maybe they'll respect your equipment a little bit better because they know they don't have insurance on it. I don't know. But either way, I think it's a great add-on for the company to make more money and have your customer basically appreciate what you're doing for them.
For sure. So I like from my perspective, just like I in my past life, I was super into conversion rate optimization, which is basically getting folks to do what you want them to do on the website. And one of the things I guess that I would consider is that like at any given time, I think it's great to have add-ons. You probably just don't want to have too many add-ons where there's probably like a sweet spot of maybe like 3 to 8 or so. Because if it gets too long, it starts looking like a shopping list and it might get too chaotic. So that's where like maybe doing a bundle where you're not just having like one where it's suntan lotion, bug spray, whatever. It's like a sundries bundle or something like that. So that's probably a consideration. I would always think about like how many are in the list there. You don't want to have too little, but you also don't want to have too many. So it'd probably be like a healthy balance. Maybe reach out to us to talk about it. But
Brad, that was a solid idea on the add-ons. So what Brad's trying to say is that instead of having a huge list of like ice, soda, a cooler, you could put all that in a bundle and, call it your premium bundle, whatever you'd like, where the customer, might get a cooler and a couple bags of ice. And inside the cooler is some bottled water and some sodas for the kids and, whatever else they want to put in there. And you would just pay, one flat fee for that. And that would also shorten up your list. So you could, at that point offer 8 different bundles instead of just 8 individualized line items for your add-ons. So great thinking, Brad.
Yeah, you know what? On top of that, just from like a hospitality standpoint, it'd be kind of cool to like have like what you're saying, Rob, is like kind of have like an unexpected experience where if they do have the cooler and the ice, maybe you don't on the website, you don't mention that it also has bottled water in it. But like if you know that 8 folks are going to be there, you have 8 bottles of water. If you just get, a bulk of that, it's not that much to the bottom line, but then it just adds that additional appeal and just that extra edge in terms of hospitality.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to touch on one more thing with add-ons, and then we can move to wherever you guys would like. But a thing that just flashed in my mind is the quality of your add-ons. So if you're charging for a helmet on a UTV rental, you want to make sure you have a quality helmet. You want to go with like a Fly brand or something that is, spectacular. And if you're doing coolers, and ice, nobody wants a rinky dinky cooler. And if it's
a blue igloo from Walmart.
Yeah. And if it's a pair of water skis, give them something quality. Go out and spend the extra money, invest in your customer so that they have a sense of pride, right? A pride in ownership, even though they're renting, like, oh, this is quality. Like these guys are taking care of us. That's super important. I learned that throughout my years in the rental industry. And every time I went cheap on an add-on, whether it was a tube, a pair of skis, I was in the boating industry. So that's why I keep focusing on the water toys, or the knee board or the wakeboard or whatever the case may be. I was always let down by a cheap add-on. They don't last as long. The customer doesn't like them as much. And then they come back and, they're upset that they had to pay for something that, was under their expectations. So feel free to spend the extra dollar on your add-ons. You can charge more than to. They're going to pay for themselves and put, a little extra money to the bottom line.
Yeah, from a marketing standpoint too, because like think about if they have like a nice set of skis, they might like take a selfie with the skis, but if they're just a crappy pair, they're not going to. And so like if they take a selfie and say, oh, I had this great time, and they're sitting on a Yeti cooler, that's going to be a lot better than if they're just in this like rinky dink thing where they're not going to share that on Instagram and they're not going to promote the business. Like if everything's high quality, they're going to just the narcissistic society that we live in, they're just going to share it and want to, brag about what they're experiencing.
Yeah, for sure.
Love that.
So Marco, transition us into something.
Oh, flexible time slots. Is that what we're doing?
Sure.
Just kidding. Rob, what about the pricing structure?
The pricing structure I'm falling in love in. The more and more I get into the back end, I had some time to be on the phone with a customer today for a while, and just make some price adjustments and create some additional time slots for them. And we really got it dialed in, and I just love it. I wish I could share my screen right now, but we'll be coming out with some videos that you guys will be able to look at that'll show you how our flexible pricing kind of coincides with our flexible time slots and our time slots across the board. But let me just give you a prime example of how a sector of my day went today. So I was on the phone with a customer. They wanted to pull a little bit more money out of their fleet for their 11-hour day time slot. So we just went in there and took me 30 seconds, increased the price across the board by $25 on the 11-hour time slot, and then raised the price on the 8-hour time slot, and then created a multi-day overnight time slot with an 8:30 p.m. return time, which will profit them an extra $225 on a weekly rental. And they went ahead with it, called the customer, they booked it, shoved the booking through. Nobody said a word. And it was exciting that I could be in the back of this platform and I didn't have to go back and forth with a web guy, or I didn't have to get on the phone and sit on hold, and all the things that go into these booking platforms that a lot of people are currently using. And I learned the other day that you call that friction. So they create this friction, I think, so they like make it impossible for you to get out of your current position and move to a better booking platform like Rex Systems. So my whole point is that we can change prices on the fly. You could be driving home with your family and you're getting into the season time. And while you guys were on vacation, you're like, we need to make some more money. We've been doing this for a while and our customer, retention is extremely healthy. And right on your phone, riding home in your truck, you can just go ahead, get into your time slots, raise your prices. You're charging $225 a day and you want to move to $250, then you move it to $250 or $275, whatever you're comfortable with. And that's all it takes. It's great. And then our special pricing is even more amazing. If you get into the busy season, it's a holiday, whatever it is. If it's snowmobiles, it'd be Christmas. If it's boats, it'd be, 4th of July week. Obviously, that's a big one. And you want to pull some more money out of that week, and you're running, 20 boats in your fleet, and you want an extra $25 a day. Well, do the math. You'd be foolish not to take advantage of it because it's just going to put more money in your pocket. So that'll pay for the vacation for next year that you and your family were on. So when you're driving home again, you can click into your time slots and figure out what you're going to do at that time too. It's just a way that we design this platform, this online booking platform, to bring in more revenue. Okay. That's what Rex Systems is focused on. Okay. We have the smartest in-house software architect on the planet. I was in the rental business for many years, raised in it. Marco's in the field on a regular basis, highly educated dude. And we came up with this structure, and thank God we had, the firepower to be able to design it. Thank you, Brad. And now there's like 10 different ways you can pull additional revenue out of your customer by using our booking platform. Rex Systems is extremely powerful when it comes to pricing and collecting revenue. And that's what we're about: customer experience and collecting additional revenue. So if you're in the mood to grow, and you want to work a little bit harder and make a little bit more money and have Rex Systems do it for you, then we're definitely the platform for you, because our flexible time slots and on-the-fly pricing is top-notch. Nobody has it. You should take a shot at it. It'll make a difference in your life.
So I got to tell the story of how it came to be. So when we first started down this venture of building the software, I was super naive in a way where I just thought we're going to have this calendar. It's going to be very similar to like Airbnb, where you just have per day, like someone books it and they, check in at one time and they leave at one time, and it's per day. And then we started knocking on people's doors, and I realized that every single business does their pricing differently. And so we had to take a step back, and about 8 different iterations later, we have really focused on being open-ended in a way that open-endedness allows for pretty much any pricing strategy that you could think of. And that then gives it the power, because like in the old days, if you just had, okay, they can book on this day and it's this price, like that was great. But that's not how the consumer lives now. Like they want to have a certain time, they want to have a certain price, they want to have like all these. They're a very particular type of person that rents any of these units, and so by having all of this stuff open ended, it's really powerful. And a lot of platforms on the internet, or like booking engines in the software world, do have open-endedness. However, the way that they structure it is there's just 80 million different buttons, because it's really hard to make open-ended software, because you can make it open-ended, but then you have this massive amount of like maintenance and settings and all of this stuff, where so like to combine the two, where I always envisioned a super simple software, but then as we got into it, we needed to have powerful software. And by merging the two, where what happens in the industry, it seems like, is that people set out to make a powerful web or a powerful engine, but at the same time they're not making an easy to use engine, and it just becomes this like complete bloated thing that is super hard to use. And the way that we've structured it is we're continually trying to eliminate buttons, like have the AI do things, or have some buttons that are just incredibly simple to use, but being powerful at the same time. One of the quotes that I really love, I'd call it like, it's not a direct quote because I never remember it, but basically like a really good software should always be really simple to do, or really easy to do simple stuff. And it should always be possible to do complex stuff. And so like we've really embraced that in a way that being able to do complex things now with pricing and rules and revenue maximization, but simply do it is it's really our bread and butter at this point. I'm super excited about all that.
Yeah, that's cool that Brad just touched base on that. You definitely cannot predict everybody's workflow, or how people are going to function when it comes to renting your unit. So Brad has definitely had to make some serious pivots from when we first started, and it's been a hell of a learning experience. But the point is that we're so dialed in, we'll blow your mind. You want to make a hard task easy or possible, like Brad just mentioned. You can literally build your own booking engine with automated descriptions and custom photos and custom pricing and custom time slots that you want to offer to your customer, and also integrate your waivers electronically so they can receive an electronic signature, so that we can streamline making sure that you're covered and you have a signed waiver before the customer even gets on your property. Rec Systems is the booking platform that can do that for you. We were built in the industry, and Brad's been doing this for over 20 years. And like I said before, I was in the rental business my whole entire life. Marco's been, I don't know what Marco's been doing, but
yeah, what have I been doing? I've been ruining Brad's life asking for stuff for the software.
He's crazy.
I apologize.
Marco texts me,
to
I just throw
Brad.
my phone.
I apologize to Brad, his kids, and his wife,
Yeah.
Ruby. She's the best. We love Ruby.
Yeah, we do love Ruby. I guarantee you Ruby's ready
I've
to
been
kill
out
me.
in the field for 10 years now, and I just know all these rental companies like, oh, you got jet ski fleet and you want to rent it every 30 minutes? Perfect. We're going to need a time slot for that, Brad. You have multiple days, but you have them going out from 9 to 8 o'clock at night. Bring them back the next day. We need a time slot for that, Brad. And he's got his whiteboard and he's over there cussing me out, but we're here now. And I think the best thing about it is, so we imported how many reservations? Well, I imported probably a couple hundred reservations by now manually, but now we can import from Excel. And we're in the back end of all this software. And Brad, who's top 10 smartest software engineers in the world, and he works for us. He's a partner. We love him. we can't even figure out how to do this export data ourselves in some of this software. The best part about Rec System is Brad built it so you can do it yourself. You don't need an account manager for every pricing update you need, or pricing rule, or fleet ad, or anything like that. No one wants to talk to anyone now. I mean, we're on here talking to you guys, but no one wants to call their account rep or email in and say, hey, I need this change. And then hopefully the associate 4 days later makes a change to a critical part of your business. I have phone calls every day. People ask me, hey, can I do this? Can I do this? Well, we built the software so you can do that with a click of a button. So it's absolutely incredible. There's nothing like it.
Yeah. And early on in my career, I learned that the hard way. So I started out doing websites for companies, and I would go through, build this super awesome website. And I was using like off the shelf software that wasn't really open-ended, but it was kind of open-ended, but it had a lot of buttons. Like those usually go together. When you can do a ton of stuff with software, it usually has a lot of buttons at the same time. It's really hard to remove buttons and still have it be powerful. But I would build like this amazing website. I'd give them a 2-hour training, and we'd go through, and I'm training on some other buddy's software. The next day they would call me, how can I change the semicolon on the about page? And it's like, I just spent 2 hours showing you how to do that. And so like I that's when I took a step back and I started building my own software, just completely hyper focused on how can we have the least amount of buttons and the most powerful software. And it's like an art, and it's really fun to do, of like, how can you remove things? Because it's super easy. Like, let's say you were you wanted to write something. Like it's super easy to just stream a thought, write a bunch of stuff. But how do you take that page worth of stuff and condense it down into a paragraph? It's a little bit harder, but then that paragraph is pretty dialed in. And then, okay, how do I now take that paragraph and condense it down into a sentence? By that point, the sentence is really great. It condenses your entire thought process into one sentence. But then you start thinking about, okay, how do I get it down to 1 or 2 words? And then once you have that 1 or 2 words, then it's like, okay, this is exactly what I think. And it's the same with software, that the more that you continually strip stuff away, it just gets better and better.
High performance booking engine, Ferrari.
Yeah. So on that note,
need help, Rob and I are here to help, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I just want to touch on the flexible time slots really quick that I've been working on. Is like the key is that by having whatever the pricing strategy is and whatever the rental strategy is, like there's so many benefits to it, where like maybe a business has been doing something the same way every time for like, I don't know, 10 years or whatever. That doesn't mean that it always needs to be that way. The way that we can do flexible time slots is it actually then starts to add a lot of benefits. So let's say it's a dealership. The dealership could have people working there from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. It doesn't mean that all of the rentals then have to go out at 8 a.m. because that's just how it was always easy to do. With having like flexible time slots or whatever the structure may be, you can then start to spread out the workload. So now all of a sudden people can show up at 2 p.m. and they can show up at whatever time that is comfortable for them. But then it also gives the employees a break in a way where they're not just like rushing to do this for a couple hours, and then the rest of the day they're just twiddling their thumbs or whatever.
Yeah, that's a great point Brad just made. So let me just explain it really quick. I used to run a fleet of 36 boats, and we had staggered time slots. So 8 to 4, 9 to 5, 10 to 6, and 11 to 7. And that was great, because if you're getting, 36 boats in at 5 o'clock at night all together, everybody's probably going to walk off the property, and you're going to be stuck cleaning and refueling those boats on your own.
Rob, you delivered boats too, right?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
All over. So what Brad's trying to say is, by really dialing in your time slot and taking advantage of the flexible time slot, you can get it dialed into a T, right? So you have 16 employees hanging around at 5 or 6 o'clock at night because your whole fleet's coming back. Why suck up all that payroll? You can use Rec Systems as a tool to just dial in segments of returns and segments of checkouts when the unit goes out and when the unit comes back. So maybe you only need 4 or 5 employees on at that time as you get everything structured and streamlined, and then cut back on your payroll like that.
Love it.
For sure. So parting words, Rob, we're at the end of it.
Well, we certainly appreciate your time, Marco and Brad. I love you guys very much. We're out.
Good luck
All right,
out there.
till next time. Have a good one.
See you next week.